of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Nurturing businesses with support and services to help them grow and bloom. The time by Sagicor Bank is 7 o'clock.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, 3.5 magnitude earthquake in eastern Jamaica. Fair play or foul play? Is the fare increase really 8%? JFJ alarm after 11 fatal police encounters in 24 hours. Father and son among 4 killed by police in St. James. Family demand justice. In the business report, BOJ governor makes final address to Finance Committee. And in sports, Mount Pleasant crowned 2026 Popeyes Challenge Cup champions.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday headlines, courtesy of Heart NSDA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
This week on Farming Forward, we're coming to you from, whoa, look at that. We're coming to you from Riverdale in St. Catherine. And we'll be talking to that young entrepreneur you just saw. He was picking breadfruit, but I can tell you about the chickens that he's been caring for all these years. He'll be talking to us about real yard chickens. Farming Forward. We're brought to you by Nutrimix. Tell me, Nutrimix. The big feed. The big feed.
CVM News at 7 Wednesday, courtesy of.
Seize the next IPO opportunity seamlessly with the Sagicor e-Invest.
From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7 for Wednesday, June 10, 2026. I'm Nika Lewis. Thanks for joining us. If your daily commute felt more expensive this week, you aren't alone. The Transport Authority's newly implemented 8% fare increase is costing commuters more than expected. Kevin Black has the latest in this report.
When the government announced the phased implementation of the approved 16% fare increase for route taxi operators, commuters braced for impact. However, an analysis of the newly released Transport Authority rate schedule reveals that many passengers are actually paying more than the 8% increase that took effect in June. This is perhaps due to the Transport Authority admitting its notice of fare increase that each fare once calculated is rounded to the nearest $10. and that sometimes results in an increase of a few dollars. This means after the announced 8% is added to the base rate and then to the per kilometer rate, then the Transport Authority sometimes rounds up to get to the nearest $10. However, the Transport Authority also noted that in July, which is when the remaining 8% of the fare increase will take effect, on at least one route, the rounding to the nearest $10 would result in passengers saving just over $1.60. An analysis of fares before and after the increase by CVM News shows that while some routes reflect modest changes, others have seen increases ranging from nearly 10 to more than 11%. Economist Keenan Faulkner confirmed this observation.
That is the gravamen of the problem. When you round off those figures to $10 or the nearest $20 or anything that can be paid using existing currency without, sort of diminishing it into dollars and cents, then you're going to have an increase of more than the 8%, and that in itself is also inflationary.
When comparing the prices in some of these routes, it can be seen that while some individuals are paying the 8% or less, others are not so fortunate. The route from Cypress Hall to Chancery Street, which covers approximately 10.2 kilometers, moved from $180 to $200. This represents an increase of 11.1%. Similarly, commuters traveling between Papine and Halfway Tree, a distance of about 8.6 kilometers, are now paying $190, up from $170. The $20 increase translates to approximately 11.8%. On the Chancery Street to downtown Kingston route, covering roughly 14.5 kilometers, the fare increased from $210 to $230, representing a 9.5% rise. Meanwhile, the fare from Maxfield Avenue to Halfway Tree increased from $130 to $140, amounting to a 7.7% increase, which is closer to the government's announced adjustment. The smallest increase among the routes examined was recorded on the Rollington Town to downtown Kingston route. Passengers there are now paying $160, up from the previous $150, an increase of approximately 6.7%. Mr. Faulkner also expressed that these inflation costs do not match up to the economic costs of these routes.
Every time there's an increase, there's a balance of competing interests between the government, the taxi operators, and the commuters. But at the end of the day, really and truly, it does not match the economic costs of operating on the route, and anything other than a round, clean number is going to become difficult for people to pay, because you're not going to have persons paying exactly 8%. Otherwise, that you're going to now end up in decimals and very small dollars and cents. So all of that really factors into the fact that inflation has to be managed.
The economist emphasized that the increase should have been computed in a tidier manner.
The taxi sector is so large. The last time they had the increase in October 2023, it was sufficient to push national inflation by 2%, which affected basically everybody, not just people who are commuting or operate in the transport sector. So having an increase by staggering it, by waiting another 2.5 years so that you don't have this massive inflationary effect. If we're going to do it that way, then we need to at least do it right.
As the new fares take effect, some commuters are definitely paying more out of pocket than the 8% announced by the government. Crystal Williams, CVM News.
Did you feel it? An earthquake was felt in Jamaica on Wednesday, June 10 at 4:11 p.m. That's according to reports from the UWI Earthquake Unit. The epicenter was located approximately 15 kilometers south of Anato Bay, St. Mary, with a Richter scale measurement of 3.5. The 18-kilometer focal depth of the quake reportedly brought its intensity to sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Catherine. The multi-million-dollar Sagicor fraud trial was adjourned early on Wednesday to ensure that all parties are in one accord on the material being included as evidence. The accused Malika McLeod, Tricia Moulton, Alicia Moulton White and Tishan Samuels are facing a 22-count indictment, including conspiracy to defraud, larceny as a servant, making unauthorized withdrawals and various breaches of the Proceeds of Crime and Cybercrimes Acts. Crystal Williams was in court and has this story.
On Tuesday, the witness testified regarding forward transaction records and account statements conducted within the months of August and September of 2022 as Exhibits 27 to 32. The following day of the witness's testimony added Exhibits 33 to 35A. He says, based on the signatures he could identify, these were more bank statements and account information prepared by Malika McLeod and authorized by Tricia Moulton. He could also identify the teller who processed them at the time based on his knowledge of files previously submitted. When asked about Exhibit 35B, the transaction record for an alleged 2.5 million Jamaican dollar withdrawal, the witness identified the words loan fees on the line where the client's signature should be. Based on his experience as a banker, the witness says this form should be signed by the client when using this record directly from the client's account. The court was told that this transaction was processed by Tishan Samuels. Exhibit 36 was reportedly a bank statement for a U.S. savings account, with two separate credit advice statements for transactions conducted days apart in September 2022. These were presented as Exhibits 36A and 36B. Now, Exhibit 36C was said to be a spot deal transaction record, traditionally used for foreign exchange accounts. The one in the witness's hand had the words internal record, where the client's signature should be. These transactions are normally processed through a treasury servicing account and done so by Tishan Samuels, the court heard. At the beginning of the afternoon session, the prosecution added an accounting statement processed by Tishan Samuels in August 2022 to the evidence as Exhibit 31G. At this juncture, the prosecution and the defense agreed that the process of going through each document one by one was long and tedious, with the end nowhere in sight. They proposed to the court that the rest of the bank statements be tendered all at once under a collective of exhibits and presented to the court for ease of operations. The court obliged. The trial continues on September 9. Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
Jamaicans for Justice, the group is again raising concerns about police fatal shootings. This after 11 people were killed in police-related incidents within 24 hours. These include the 4 men who were fatally shot during a reported gun battle with police in Kent Village, St. Catherine on Wednesday. The human rights group says the incidents highlight the need for greater accountability and the use of body-worn cameras. Crystal Williams reports. But ahead of that story, we take a break.
Employers, once a month, you have the power to shape Jamaica's future. By paying your hard 3% contribution, you're not just contributing, you're investing in people, in skills, in our economy. Your hard contribution trains working-age Jamaicans, aligns programs with workforce needs, and secures our future. That's not just contribution, it's transformation. Contribute to heart and to your future.
Football season. Don't just watch the action, be part of it. With Chris and Charles Score Big Loan Promotion, upgrade your TV, plan that trip, or handle what matters most, fast and easy. And here's the best part. Every loan gives you a chance to win one of 3 58-inch smart 4K TVs. So while your favorite team scores on the field, you could be scoring big too. Promotion runs May 11 to July 20, 2026. Visit any branch or Chris and Charles for details. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Score big this football season on and off the field.
Before the first patty is made, there are hands that raise it, hands that grow it, hands that move it, hands that bake it, and hands that serve it. For Jamaica, by Jamaica. through challenges and changing seasons. They stood strong. They built with us. They believed. To every farmer, every team member, every partner, thank you.
Welcome back. Still in the local news. The root cause of last Friday's all-island outage has not yet been conclusively determined. That revelation from Energy Minister Darrell Voss during his presentation in Parliament this evening. The minister says he received a preliminary report from the Jamaica Public Service Company on Tuesday. It explained that electrical disturbances were first recorded in the corporate area during heavy rainfall and lightning activity associated with the weather system. Investigations and technical analyses are still underway to determine with certainty what triggered the collapse of the national grid.
The preliminary findings indicated that a grid shutdown was initiated by the loss of multiple transmission lines at a time when there was heavy rain and lightning. Additionally, initial investigations suggest a possible misoperation of the primary production scheme associated with the Hunts Bay Rockfort line. It is also noted that the scheme operated correctly multiple times in the adverse weather conditions prior to this event. These factors collectively contributed to the prolonged fault conditions, cascading generator trips, and ultimately system-wide instability and shutdown. Despite the event and our initial investigations, there are no immediate concerns for grid stability following this event and the operational measures taken. While the report outlines the sequence of events that led to the system shutdown, I must emphasize that the root cause of the outage has not yet been conclusively determined. Investigations and technical analysis remain ongoing to establish with certainty the factors that triggered the collapse of the national grid.
Meanwhile, the latest Auditor General's performance report has raised serious concerns about the National Water Commission, pointing to chronic underspending, weak financial reporting, and aging infrastructure that continue to undermine reliable water and sewage services for Jamaicans. More in this report.
Coming out of the latest performance audit tabled by the Auditor General, the National Water Commission has been flagged for falling short on capital expenditure between the 2019-2020 and 2023-2024 financial years. Capital spending is money used to build, repair, and upgrade water pipes, pumping stations, treatment plants, and other water infrastructure. Over that period, NWC planned to spend $44.92 billion on capital projects. The report cites limited financial resources, ongoing losses, and rising payables as reasons the Commission was unable to meet financing requirements for internally funded projects, despite budgets climbing from $1.5 billion to $2.1 billion over the period. The audit also found inconsistent prioritization of capital projects, weak performance against key efficiency and revenue targets. Critical indicators such as access to potable water and sewage services were not consistently measured or reported until late 2025. Auditor General Pamela Monroe Ellis has recommended that the NWC develop a robust framework for ranking projects and strengthening of its financial reporting to ensure transparency, accountability, and budget credibility. But that's not all. A closer look at the performance report on the government agency managing over 75% of the country's potable water and 30% of the nation's sewage revealed that the NWC spent at least $3.6 million on a financial management system, with modules that remained partly ineffective due to ongoing system problems. It also found the NWC has not submitted its audited financial statements or annual reports for 4 years in a row from financial year 2021-2022 to financial year 2024-2025. Additionally, the majority of the contracts ran late. Of 50 contracts reviewed, 29 experienced delays ranging from 3 to 29 months. The report states NWC did not always use its legal rights to claim compensation when contractors performed poorly. NWC did not meet critical targets for revenue growth and operational efficiency for financial year 2019-2020 to 2024-2025, except for revenue growth target for financial year 2022-2023. The Auditor General concluded that this could undermine progress towards its strategic objectives and the effective delivery of its capital program. But why should this matter to you? The audit suggests that if you've dealt with low water pressure or unreliable sewage, this audit shows why. The NWC has underspent on repairs and upgrades, leaving aging systems 70% over 40 years old to struggle. It adds weak financial reporting means less accountability, while delayed investment threatens reliable access to safe water and sanitation for Jamaicans.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says over 300,000 Jamaicans are estimated to have benefited from the government's repairs and restoration of medical facilities, amounting to over $3.82 billion thus far following Hurricane Melissa. However, he stressed that if it wasn't for the swift actions and resourceful efforts of the teams who assisted during and after the disaster, the health risks, deaths, and expenses could have been more. Natasha Williams reports.
From chefs preparing meals in the rains to boots on the ground from local and international medical professionals, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton commended the efforts made to restore the healthcare system and victims' livelihood post-Hurricane Melissa. Speaking at the post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday, Dr. Tufton saluted the medical teams for their control over waterborne diseases and prevention of major outbreaks.
It is normally automatic after such a weather storm to have waterborne illnesses. We had leptospirosis, but it was short-lived because the team was deployed, 177 public health inspectors, and we controlled that. It could have been a lot worse. And we had 1,100 vector control workers to visit homes, to spray, to treat water. And we did not have a dengue outbreak, which is phenomenal.
He further noted that the swift construction of a field hospital and a fully operated medical unit within days of the hurricane was vital in saving lives. Dr. Tufton noted that with the collaborative efforts of the Jamaica Defense Forces Airlifting Service, over 96 persons were rescued from life-threatening injuries within the first 72 hours of the disaster. To date, the minister stated there has been major progress as a phase-by-phase rebuilding, restoration, and modernization of the overall healthcare system is currently underway.
We did temporary makeshift restoration, but then the team went in to check the walls, the integrity of the wall, to see if the building should be abandoned, should it be rebuilt, and also in the case where we need to do some expansion, recommendations were made according to that.
Though several projects are yet to be completed, Dr. Tufton says the damage has been extensive.
The government, through the Ministry of Finance, has extended some $3.82 billion in repair works at the affected health centers and hospitals, which has positively impacted a number of services and indeed Jamaicans. It is estimated that some 300,000 Jamaicans would have been served from the initial expenditure. The team, under the circumstances, did very well, and we need to celebrate them for their efforts because many more lives could have been lost.
However, he notes that under Phase 3 of the program, to achieve a more strategic and long-term result, major institutions situated on coastlines in places such as Black River and Savannah Mar, along with Noel Homes in Hanover, might be relocated. Natasha Williams, CVM News.
Changes are coming to safeguard landowners, curb squatting, and expand access to land titles for Jamaicans with limited funds. These commitments were outlined during the ongoing sectoral debates in Parliament on Tuesday.
Vulnerable, with the squatting and land scams under sharp government review. Minister with responsibility for land titling and settlements, Robert Montague, warns that no member of parliament, councillor or justice of the peace can sell crown lands. He went on that effective Tuesday, June 9, 2026, sellers will be prosecuted while buyers risk losing their money.
Madam Speaker, we want to remove the incentive. We want to remove the incentive for land scamming. Remember, government lands belong to the people. It is bought for development. People are squatting on lands reserved for schools, clinics, roadways, and even one historic site. This is a massive cost to rehabilitate and resettle areas after it has been informally settled. We have met with all the MPs with a squatting challenge. So as of today, June 9th, people who go onto crown lands will no longer be considered for a settlement program. If you're there already, you're there already. But we're not dealing with the new people.
The minister says a new property watch program will also be launched to help owners protect their lands from squatters exploiting adverse possession laws. At the same time, reforms in land titling will allow small landholders of 2 acres or less to apply for grants, while untitled church lands will receive support.
Many of our small land occupants find it a little challenging sometimes to find the surveyor's fees. So the Most Honourable Prime Minister has instructed that we find a solution. We have therefore proposed that a revolving fund will be established where landowners of 2 acres or less can apply for a surveyor's fee loan. Once the applicant applies through LAMP, an NLA-trained and certified lawyer or a recognized land management service company, they will qualify and these funds will go directly to the surveyor and a caveat lodged against the title so that the taxpayers will recover the money. This will greatly help many families who today cannot afford to pay a surveyor.
Montague later appealed for unity in rebuilding after Hurricane Melissa, stressing that shared data on property damage will strengthen recovery.
To help our brothers and sisters in need, we must be our sole aim, our sacred objective, and our national goal. It is the first time Jamaica has attempted this type of project in such a big way. So let me admit that we will not always get everything right every time. We are only humans. But we must use all resources, all safeguards, and oversights to implement the project. We have just established and signed a memorandum of understanding with other ministries, agencies, and stakeholders to share data on available land, occupancy, property damage, and beneficiary information.
Meanwhile, the Western St. Mary MP says fixing Jamaica's land titling process will take about 2 years with public support as the government moves to integrate technology for greater efficiency.
Witness grew emotional on Tuesday after she identified a photograph of the deceased Zamari McKay. This in the ongoing Clansman gang trial. Carla Ramdeen has been in court.
A prosecution witness detailed her account of events surrounding the disappearance and subsequent murder of a man named Zamari McKay in Tuesday's proceedings. She told the court that on August 10, 2022, she was asleep when a relative woke her and informed her that a call had come in on his phone. According to the witness, the caller was a friend of McKay. The witness testified that she later went to her cousin's house where a call was made to McKay. She said McKay answered and she spoke with him for approximately 5 minutes before the call ended. The witness told the court that after the phone call, she and other relatives went to a police station. She further testified that she and other family members visited the Hunts Bay police station the following day. They were subsequently directed to the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, CTOC, where she provided a statement to investigators. The court previously heard evidence from a detective sergeant who discovered a body that is said to be Zamari McKay on Lakesman Main Road in St. Catherine on August 11, 2022. The officer testified that he observed the body of a man lying face down in what appeared to be an illegal dumping area. He told the court that both ankles were tied with a white merino and that several spent casings were found around the body. The officer also said he observed what appeared to be blood in the area and noted that the body had several wounds to the upper back and neck. The evidence relates to counts 28 and 29 of the indictment, which allege the accused knowingly facilitated the robbery and murder of Zamari McKay. Carlos Williams, Jermaine Clark, and Owen Billings are the men charged in connection with the murder. Carla Ramdeen, CVM News.
CVM News at 7 continues right after these.
Love is when my uncle gave me the money to help start my shop. My auntie and I made her famous recipe even more delicious. And it starts with the best dressed chicken and a little extra love. No, my shop is famous to the people that matter the most to me, my community. So I only serve the best dressed chicken. Raised without antibiotics, it's only the best for my customers. If anyone's going to add something to my best dressed chicken, it's going to be me. Only the best can be called the best dressed chicken.
For the moments that are best enjoyed with your hands, enjoy them with a KFC Big Deal or Big Bucket. KFC, it's finger licking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Link. The missing link. Link virtual card. Sign up for Link from your app store. Select cards to activate your virtual card. And start shopping.
Looking for reliable ICT technical support in the Caribbean? Look no further than Connex. Stay connected with your loved ones and businesses, no matter where you are in paradise. Connex keeps you connected. Upgrade your network and embrace solar energy for your schools and businesses. Connex ensures seamless connectivity and sustainability. Connex, your trusted partner for telecom networking, software development, and solar installations. We design, install, connect, we deliver.
Thanks so much for staying with us. It's now time for your business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. For the final time ahead of retirement, Bank of Jamaica Governor Richard Biles addressed members of the Standing Finance Committee meeting of the House of Representatives with a report of the significant developments which have shaped his tenure.
There has been a global pandemic. There's been supply chain disruptions that drove global inflation. We've had two major hurricanes, and we've had the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Through each of these tests, Bank of Jamaica held a steady course on our core mandates of price and financial system stability. The record speaks clearly and positively.
The outgoing governor also reviewed some of the economic developments over the second half of the 2025-26 fiscal year and shared Jamaica's economic outlook.
Over the June and September 2026 quarters, domestic inflation is forecast to trend upward from 4.3% at April 2026 and is projected to breach the upper limit of the bank's target range of 4 to 6%. This will be mainly driven by supply and cost pressures, including increased energy and transport-related inflation resulting from rising crude prices.
He spoke to GDP growth projections in 2027-2028.
Real GDP growth is forecast within a range of 1 to 3%. This follows an estimated contraction in the range of 1% to 2% for the financial year 25 to 26.
In review of his 7-year tenure, Governor Bowles highlighted the growth of net international reserves as a point of pride.
Jamaica's external position remains strong, with gross international reserves amounting to approximately $6.5 billion at the 26th of May 2026, representing 138.5% of the level assessed to be adequate. The negative impact of the global political and economic climate on the country's external accounts is projected to be significant, with the current account balance expected to deteriorate over the near term. This deterioration will largely result from higher imported fuel prices and increased importation to facilitate the economy's post-hurricane infrastructure rebuild.
He also pointed to inflation during his tenure.
Over the period September 2019 to April 2026, Jamaica experienced average annual inflation of 6%. If we take out April 21 to March 23, the period of global supply chain inflation, Jamaica's inflation rate averaged 5%, well within the target range of 4 to 6%.
Management of the exchange rate has been central to that ambition.
At the 26th of May 2026, the exchange rate had appreciated, had appreciated by 1.5% on a year-over-year basis to the level of $157.9 to $1. This compares to a depreciation of 2.3% over the previous 12 months.
While responding to questions from the committee members, Governor Bowles pointed to several issues of contention that will now fall to his successor.
I would not leave this chamber, Madam Chair, without full candor. The weakness of the monetary transmission system remains a structural challenge. In a banking system as concentrated as ours, the pass-through of monetary policy signals to credit and lending rates is constrained. This will not resolve itself quickly, and it is a challenge the next governor will have to tackle. Madam Chair, it has been the honor of my professional life to lead this fine Jamaican institution for almost 7 years. I leave with deep gratitude for the opportunity and with full confidence that Bank of Jamaica is well positioned to continue serving our nation with distinction for generations to come. Thank you.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
Let's now turn to regional and international news.
We begin with the news this evening in St. Lucia, where the government says tougher measures are on the horizon as gun violence continues to grip communities across the island. DBS TV has more.
In fact, I had a discussion with the Commissioner of Police, and he says to me that he'll be proposing some new legislation, which we await from the Commissioner of Police. I think when he meets you, he'll probably be telling you what he's proposing, but he says to me he's proposing some new legislation matters to deal with crime.
Meanwhile, in Barbados, the government is establishing a gun court as a response to tackle the rise in illegal firearm offences and gun-related crime. Here's a snippet from CBC Barbados.
A person who's charged with simple possession of a firearm or simple possession, sir, of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 rounds of ammunition, sir, should have, sir, particularly if he's on bail, should be walking around the country, sir, without his matter being heard, sir, within 3 or 4 months of him being served or she being served with disclosures.
Now to news worldwide, as U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters in the Oval Office after being asked to clarify his earlier remarks where he said Iran would have to, quote, pay the price for taking too long to reach a deal.
Well, we're going to be attacking them very hard.